Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. It's that time of year again when the air just feels magical and alive and the moors are a little bit misty and mysterious, and we all start thinking about wishes and miracles and the perfect cup of tea by the fire. When I was little, I used to love looking through Christmas catalogues, every page going through, carefully circling all the things I knew Father Christmas would never be able to fit down the chimney. Plus some very impractical ideas like a horse or a cabin bed, which I never got. But this year, I thought I'd do the grown-up version of that, Bronte style. So I'm standing here in front of the Bronte Parsonage, which, if you ask me, is the best treasure chest in the whole of Yorkshire. Within those four walls are some of the most remarkable relics, stories and objects in literary history. And if Father Christmas happened to be feeling particularly generous, these are my 12 Bronte related treasures I'd be wishing for. So pour yourself a cup of something cosy, settle in by the tree, and let's begin my 12 Bronte wishes for Christmas. A festive wish list straight from Haworth, with just a touch of bookish dreaming. If I could wish for anything first, it would be the simple yet extraordinary teacups and teapots that once lived amongst the Brontes. I mean, just imagine them sitting there in the parsonage, listening carefully to the silence and to the chatter, the laughter, and of course that writing that poured from the sisters' pen. They witnessed both triumph and heartbreak, the excitement when Charlotte, Emily and Anne first saw their work in print, and those comforting cups of tea shared in times of sorrow when words alone were just not enough. Tea was never just a drink. It was a small ritual of warmth, support and restoration. The parsonage has a charming collection of these everyday objects, and I love to imagine holding them in my hands, feeling that connection to the lives they quietly observed. I mean, at Christmas, I can picture the same cups filled with steaming tea as the family gathered, perhaps sharing little treats and stories by the fire. There is something so magical about imagining a festive moment like that. Simple, yet full of heart and linking us across the time to the Brontes' own Christmases. Oh, love my tea. Then, of course, there are boxes. Sewing boxes, writing boxes and keepsake boxes and tins for candles and letters and all kinds of little treasures. Boxes are full of possibilities, are they not? I mean, you never know what you might find hidden inside. I love wandering around the parsonage, imagining what could have been tucked away in each one. Could there be lost letters, a tiny manuscript, or even just a fragment of poetry forgotten under that very lid? Each box is like a mysterious little time capsule, preserving whispers of the past and keeping secrets safe. At Christmas, I like to imagine one of these boxes being placed under my Christmas tree, but not filled with your ordinary gifts, oh no, but with little Bronte surprises waiting to be discovered. Perhaps a scrap of paper with a sketch by Charlotte, or a pressed flower that Emily had tucked into a letter, or a beautiful piece of ribbon that Anne had kept hidden in her writing desk. There's something magical about the thought that these ordinary boxes could contain such extraordinary glimpses into the sisters' lives. So, you probably want to know what's in my box. Nothing exciting. Are you ready? Clothes pegs. Wax seals and stamps are objects that feel almost ceremonial in their importance. There is something so deliberate and final about sealing a letter by hand. Unlike instant emails and WhatsApp messages, there is just no delete button, no way to unsend it. Once it's gone, it's gone. Each impression tells more than just the words inside. It tells you about the mood and the moment, and perhaps even the tears that smudged the ink. The tiny stamps held letters private and precious, and they marked a pause in time when communication was both art and ritual. To hold one is to hold a fragment of intimacy in history, the final flourish of a written message treasured by the sisters. It's also hard to think about sad times at Christmas, but it was in December 1848 that Emily Brontë died, and the amount of letters written in that dining room in the parsonage on the edge of the moors to tell friends of her passing, carefully sealed with that delicate wax, held the sadness inside on its journeys across paths and moorlands and hills all across Yorkshire. I love the inkwells at the parsonage. Today, glass pots for ink may seem simple, almost decorative, but in the 19th century, they were essential to everyday life. Each well held the potential for poetry, letters, and novels yet to be born. Many of them are beautifully crafted with little touches of design that elevate a simple object to something artful. I like to imagine Branwell getting really frustrated one day and maybe knocking one over in exasperation while poor Anne and Charlotte carefully cleaned it up, thinking of the next line of poetry or the next novel they were going to write. There is a joy in the way that something so ordinary could be both functional and beautiful. And at Christmas, I imagine these little inkwells just sitting there quietly beside candles, ready to capture festive thoughts or little notes to friends and family. There's something comforting in picturing the sisters dipping their pens into the same wells, carrying on the work that they loved, even amidst the quiet, snowy December day while the church bells rang out in the distance. Dress buttons. Yes, they might seem insignificant, but to me, they tell a story. Handmade and small and delicate, they're stitched with care, often in the dim light of the parsonage. And I can picture Tabby helping Charlotte with those fiddly buttons, chatting quietly, and Emily sighing as she wrestled with another one that has come loose. Buttons are a small detail, yet they reveal the skill, the patience and the rhythm of daily life for the sisters, life beyond their writing. As a sewer myself, I understand the effort involved, and that thoughtfulness behind such simple objects makes them feel almost magical. What I found particularly remarkable is that so many of these buttons have survived all this time, mostly intact, and quite a few of them unbroken. And carrying with them that tangible connection to the everyday lives of the Brontes and the quiet care that went into each and every stitch. But I'm waving this button around because this one's quite important to me. I have here it's going to be noisy, my Nan's button pot. And in here are buttons from everything, and it's like my childhood in a tin. We've got buttons that were on cardigans that my granddad used to wear. We've got, and a buckle that's been taken off a sandal. But these are the buttons that I wanted to show you, because I know, based on what my mum said, that these were on my Nan's wedding dress when she got married just after the Second World War. So there is definitely history in buttons, even in everyday tins like mine. And it smells of my Nan's house. I know that sounds strange, but there's a certain smell. I remember this. I had a cardigan with ladybird buttons. Oh my goodness. Just I've forgotten all about it till I just saw it then. Yeah, it's just a piece of history in a tin. No Bronte fan could resist a first edition of one of the sisters' novels. Just imagine holding in your hands, knowing it is the very book that began the journey that would absolutely change their lives forever. Charlotte's Jane Eyre, Emily's Wuthering Heights and Anne's Agnes Grey. First editions were rare, precious and sometimes controversial. For Emily, they finally brought independence and recognition, and for the other sisters, a legacy that would endure. I sometimes dream of discovering one sort of tucked away in the corner of a charity shop or hidden under a pile of dust sheets. The page is maybe slightly yellowed, the cover slightly worn, still brimming with the energy of the words first read by those who held it so long ago. First editions are not just books, they are fragments of history, whispered stories of ambition, of courage and lives of remarkable women who created them. Oh yes, please, Father Christmas, if you could just, yeah, that would be lovely. I don't care, you don't have to wrap it. I'm not fussy. It's absolutely fine. Thanks. Flossy and Keeper, the parsonage beloved dogs, had collars that were tiny works of art. The size, the detail, I mean, even the careful marking of Reverend Patrick Bronte's name as the owner always makes me smile. I mean, it's also a small reminder of the era that even ownership of a pet was considered a man's responsibility rather than a woman's. I can picture Keeper wearing that large metal collar, keeping him secure. But little Flossie? I don't know. I mean, she was delicate and dainty, and she might have been better suited to sort of a nice little ribbon rather than that big sturdy collar. I mean, these collars, they reflect the care with which even the tiniest things were attended to. And I love imagining the sisters fussing over them, adjusting the strap or making sure that they were well polished and everything was in place. But small acts revealed the quiet rhythm of life in the parsonage and the thoughtful attention that family gave to everyday details. Ooh, what's that? Oh, buttons! They must have fallen out the tin. Letters by Emily Bronte are rare and so precious. Her handwriting absolutely fascinates me. I mean, it's small, it's careful script, and sometimes almost trembling with intensity. Knowing that Charlotte destroyed many of Emily's letters after her death makes each surviving one all the more extraordinary. Holding such a letter feels like touching a fragment of her mind, her thoughts preserved on paper, delicate and intimate. I love to imagine reading one, slowly tracing each line, wondering what Emily felt or thought as she wrote it. For a Christmas wish, I cannot imagine anything more magical than glimpsing Emily's inner world through the careful strokes of her pen. A quiet connection across time that reminds us of her genius, her sensitivity, and the depths of feeling that she carried even in everyday moments. The iconic black sign outside the parsonage is one of those things that feels as if it belongs to the very landscape of Haworth. Come rain, shine, snow or mist, it welcomes everyone to the cobbled lanes, standing quietly over the history held within those very four walls. It may not be an original Bronte possession, but to me, it's the first thing you see when you walk from the car park up the steps to the parsonage. And I know it is the start of the magic I feel whenever I'm in Haworth. Arriving there always feels like stepping into a story, a moment when the present just fades away and the past comes alive. And if Father Christmas could bring me that sign, I would feel that magic every day, though I suspect it might be a tad too big to hang in my room. Even so, it's a reminder of the joy and the wonder that a simple object placed in the right moment can bring to life. The tiny manuscripts of the Brontes are where it all began. They are the seedlings of imagination, the first sparks of stories that would later become literary classics. The detail, the miniature writing and the painstaking care with which they were crafted is astonishing. You cannot help but be drawn in. You start reading one of those tiny pages and before you know it, hours have disappeared, carried away in the world of the Brontes' imagination. I love imagining Father Christmas slipping these down the chimney, little bundles of creativity waiting to be discovered. I would treasure them not just for their rarity and of course their size, but for the window that they provide into the sisters' earliest ideas and their imagination and that remarkable world that first grew within the very walls of the parsonage. I can only hope, Father Christmas, I can only hope. Anne Bronte's stone collection is a lovely reminder that beauty does not have to be grand. It can be found in simple pleasures. And I love picking up stones and objects when I'm out on a walk, noticing unusual shapes and colours and textures, imagine the stories they might hold. Anne's collection is much the same, personal, attentive and just utterly charming. It's a quiet joy, something to contemplate, rearrange and admire. And I can imagine having such a collection in my Christmas stocking. Each stone a little fragment of Anne's imagination, ready to sit on my windowsill and remind me of the simple pleasures that the sisters treasured in their own daily lives. And this one looks like a normal round stone on the outside, but inside, I don't know if you can see that, it's very strange. It's very soft and it sits up here. Ta-da! Finally, I would wish for an edition of Blackwood's Edinburgh magazines, which the sisters almost certainly read, so during that time period when they were reading it all the time. To leaf through it would be to encounter the same stories and the poems and the essays that shaped their imagination, and it made them gasp at villains and laugh at clever wit or admire the beauty of poetry. It's a direct glimpse into the world they inhabited, the ideas and the stories they absorbed and transformed into their own literary magic. I love to imagine holding such a magazine, turning each page carefully as they might have done, feeling that connection across time to the moments when Charlotte, Emily or Anne first discovered the stories that were held within those pages. It's a glimpse that goes far beyond the material. It's a small doorway into the minds and the lives of the Bronte sisters themselves. The can feel I'm a I don't know what I'm saying. And Agnes Gray's first editions were rare. Agnes Gray's and Anne's Agnes Gray. Even the careful markings of Reverend Patrick And there we have it, my 12 wishes for Christmas. Subtle hint to anyone watching. We really are so lucky, aren't we? I mean, to have a place like the Brontë Parsonage, keeping all those treasures safe for us to enjoy. Every time I visit, I think how extraordinary it is that these little pieces of their lives have survived. I mean, the handwriting, the sketches, and even those tiny little books. I mean, I can't keep a piece of paper safe for 5 minutes, let alone 150 years. And it's great that we can still stand here and marvel at all these beautiful things years later. Now, it's time for my famous 3 questions. Number 1, if you could have one Brontë-related wish on your Christmas list this year, what would it be? Number 2, have you ever received a Brontë-themed gift for Christmas before, and what was your favourite? And number 3, just for a bit of fun, if you could invite one member of the Brontë family around for Christmas dinner, who would it be and why? Can't wait to hear your answers for that one. So pop your answers in the comments and we can all have a good read. Thank you so much for joining me on this festive Brontë adventure, and a cold one too. I hope your December is full of warmth, books, and a little bit of Christmas magic. Merry Christmas, everyone. And as always, thank you so much for watching this and all my videos. Please do that whole likey, subscribey thing, because it really does help me out and it lets YouTube know that we want to watch more Brontë content. Have a lovely Christmas. Take care of yourself. Don't eat too much cake. And I will see you all very soon for more Brontë adventures. Bye.